You're very welcome, Ronan O'Gara. It's brilliant to have you in Cork and falling on the morning that it has ahead of a big weekend for Munster Rugby.
Yeah, it's great to be back. I was meant to fly in yesterday to Cork after birthday to Dublin, so got home late last night. But
the 5 kids in tow, I believe, as well.
Yeah, well, I made a smart decision on hiring a car instead of getting the bus. No, everything is grand, as you know. I don't get home often. It's great to come home, and it's good to be here. Great to see old faces and see a local radio station thriving.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, a huge weekend for Munster. You're going to Thomond Park tomorrow for a return to Champions Cup Rugby at Thomond Park. A huge occasion in store.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it's. People might forget that I don't think there's been a quarter-final for 3 years, is it?
Yeah,
so it's the biggest day in Munster's rugby for 3 years. There'll be massive excitement. There'll be an unbelievable crowd, and I think ever since we lost Axel, I think people now have an attitude of the glass half full as opposed to half empty. So I think we all appreciate where we come from. We all know Munster Rugby, I think, have done over a long period of time, back hundreds of years. So it's an opportunity to, I suppose, express our identity and show what it means.
It's already been a really impressive season on the pitch from the lads, and tomorrow is another opportunity. Like, we feel like we can get the measure of Toulouse tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think you'd like to think, though, with what has happened with Munster in the past, that they'd hopefully look upon tomorrow as a starting point. I know they're in the quarter-final, but hopefully standards, the culture, the values in that club, I think if you look at potentially what's in front of them, a game in Thomond Park, a game in the Aviva and a final,
yeah,
it can be done, but I think obviously you just got to forget that from a player's point of view. But from a supporter's point of view, we should be hugely excited because considering where the team was before Razzie Erasmus got involved, there's been massive improvements. I think Munster tomorrow will be, well, I couldn't get over the weather last night in terms of...
it's dirty out there.
So like that affects how you play too. The lads would have trained it all week a different way, and then the amount of rainfall that fell last night just makes it different in terms of the quality of the surface.
But who will it suit more?
But Toulouse are massive.
Yeah.
They're not the fittest team, but they're massive. But at the same time, that takes its toll. So if the game is slower, it kind of suits the bigger, heavier people. But I think the advantage Irish teams have is that they're far more disciplined, because you look at penalty counts in Ireland-France games or French teams, it's always half what the French teams give away, because it's not policed as well as it should be over there.
And like Toulouse coming into this game are very well placed to tell us, like, their top 14, their form isn't the best, but they did finish top of the pool in the European rugby. So how are they?
Yeah, it's a bizarre league. It's really, really difficult to explain to anyone, I suppose, that's in business or has ambitions and goals, because it drives you around the bend trying to make progress. One week you're flying, and then the next week you're trying to take 40 points, or what is going on? But it seems to happen, the 14 clubs over there. It's really, really difficult, but they are capable, I think, of playing a really good game, but also of a non-performance. And I think even if Munster have a bad day, you're looking at a 6 out of 10. If Toulouse had a bad day, they could hit 2 out of 10. So that's probably a big difference. But saying that, if you know, Maynard expresses himself, Doucetoir is a warrior. He's been, anyone who's watched rugby will know how important he has been to French rugby, to Toulouse rugby. He's a winner. It may be difficult for them to get into the top 6, hopefully it will be, which means tomorrow there'll be a big rally cry for Doucetoir, and he'd have a lot of history with Munster, and I think people in Thomond Park will know who he is, and I think they'll play on that emotional card tomorrow, and they could be dangerous. But if Munster have intensity, Munster have, I think, an attitude of keeping ball, I think we could do damage.
Yeah, and Conor Murray looks set to start, at least that's what the reports are as early as this morning. How crucial is he to the game tomorrow?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think we all saw the image in the paper, and it's sad really, that's how we make decisions on team selections nowadays. But it was an impressive jump for to catch a ball, so everyone thinks he's fine. But he has a
do you know more than we do?
No, I don't, because it's I suppose it's been a different or difficult week in terms of signing one of Munster's players, and then the reaction to that, it's kind of just lie low for a bit and let it pass. But of course I've great friends that are still playing, but I think when they're preparing for a quarter final, you just kind of leave them off, and then maybe send a few of them a text or whatever. But I don't know any more than you do.
Alright, okay. On that, I might just, if anybody has a question for Ronan, we'll open up the floor in just a minute, but I do want to ask about that. Donncha Ryan heading to your own Racing next season. That's a big story for us this week, a big story for Irish rugby.
Yeah, it's a massive story, yeah, I agree. I think it's a big signing for any club because of the quality of the player he is. I think Donncha is a really interesting guy. I think he's a really humble guy, and I think he always was a little bit different in terms of he was never a sheep. He thought outside the box. He kind of he did his own thing. I think there's no better place, Munster, for rumours, and I think everyone gets them. But if there's stories of Donncha being spotted like in socks over his tracksuit pants, runner's tracksuit, a hoodie and a balaclava, running through the streets of Nina, feeling he hadn't enough done at night time.
It's the mark of the man.
Well, we are a bit weird, all of us rugby players, when you get to that level, but I think he just felt he wanted to play for Munster so much. I think he's represented Munster as well as any players have. From his point of view, he didn't get a national contract, so he's right to be disappointed, and everyone here should be disappointed. And he made a decision, I think, and genuinely, I said to him months ago, I said, if you're interested in coming to France, I'm here, as you know. And that was it. And there's no point in me saying Donncha come to Racing because of how volatile French rugby is. I may not be there next season, I may not be there the season after, and it doesn't work like that. I think he has to decide for himself what he wants over the next 2-3 years, and there might be a little bit in terms of me being there being a comfort factor for him, but like, you should never base your decision on that. He has to go for his own motivation. So I completely stayed away from him.
Well, it's a huge opportunity for him, and if you are there,
well, it is huge, yeah. But I tell you this too. He'd be in for a bit of a shock in terms of what is there. Obviously, far away hills always seem greener. But what you have in Munster now, I think, is impressive, thanks to what every person has done. And there was a lull, most definitely, that happens in all super clubs as well, I think. But from his point of view, I suppose he felt he was 33. He's getting an option of a guaranteed salary, which probably wasn't the case. Maybe he could have achieved that with bonuses here, I'm not too sure. But I think he looks upon himself as 36, he's going to be finished. He needs to have other strings to his bows, potentially. Is he going to go coaching? Because unfortunately it comes to an end for everyone. Professional sport does. And you have to be organised, because the fall off is horrendous. Because it's just like, okay, Saturday you play your last game, then Monday morning you go on autopilot to get your gear back to go into the changing room, and there's no other, I suppose, career in the world that happens to you. So it is hard. So I think you need to be set up to do something, and he's looked upon it maybe as a chance to further himself.
Ronan, your playing days obviously ended in Ireland, but you're applying your
No,
trade.
it ended in France. In the semi-final.
You're applying your trade in France now though, post-playing days. So, you know, when you look back on the end of your career now and you see players making the move to France to maybe finish out their career, like, would you have done things differently knowing what you know now of the likes of French
No,
rugby?
because you can't live life like that, you know. I think it's not possible to do that because I was one of the leaders of the Munster team and everyone in that team had offers to go. But like, how could you leave Munster? We were like, I think the best thing, and I hate talking about the past because it's over and done, I have no interest in it, but one thing I'm very proud of is playing in 10 European Cup semi-finals. For me, like, that shows you're thereabouts every year, so everything from a motivation point of view is ticked. Obviously you're lacking a killer instinct some years, yes, but you can live with that, you can sleep well at night, you've given it your best shot, you're playing with fellas that are from Munster that mean everything to you. The guys I played with is, I have friends for life as a result of that, you know what I mean? There'll be few in French rugby that would have that.
Okay.
So for me, it's my local team, it's everything I dreamt of, and playing with them, you just, if I got offered 2 million it might be different. It wasn't in and around that, but you know, the game is changing though, really quickly, a lot more quickly than you realise, and you know, sport has become a little bit more crazy than it was in terms of, you look at football, what's happening in China, you look at rugby, what's happening in France, the Japanese market is going to become a big player soon. So there are options for players, and it's becoming more and more, I would suppose, interesting, or more options for players to have.
Certainly. For you then, from a coaching perspective and the development of that aspect of your career now, and returning to Munster someday, like, that is a timeline for you, or a trajectory for you returning to Munster, where are you at?
Do you know what, it's very weird thinking of, obviously it's a fantastic province and team, but that was me as a player. I've completely kind of looked upon it differently now, coaching. I think it may happen, it may not happen, and I got to go somewhere where there's a big challenge. I think that's what stimulates me, that's what gets me, my juices flowing. I love rugby, I love the challenge of it, I love getting the best out of people, I like the tactical side of it, I like coaching on the pitch, but I don't know is the honest answer. I don't really it doesn't keep me awake at night wanting to coach Munster. So at this stage, well, you have to be a really good coach. I'm not a really good coach. I'm learning hopefully to be a good coach, but it's completely different. It's not related to playing at all. It's actually nearly harder when you were a good player, and you have to detrain and retrain and get way more better at loads of things. But this game hopefully is a marathon, not a sprint. But obviously Munster is a great club, and the opportunity may come, it may not come, but I'm certainly not looking upon it in the next few years anyway.
Okay. At this point I'll open up the floor to anybody that might have a question for Ronan before I hog the questions. Anybody? Okay, I'll proceed. Anybody questions? No? Okay, I'll proceed. Ronan, just on the back of the Six Nations campaign as well, from an Ireland perspective, here today obviously the players return to their clubs this weekend for huge provincial action, but how do you reflect on the Six Nations? Obviously it ended on a high anyway, spoiling the English party, but overall?
Yeah, well, that's very important. I think I was never fearful of that game. I think the way Irish rugby is at the minute, I think home advantage is big. It's a big thing, and I don't think Ireland we're ever going to lose to England in the Aviv. I just think it's the same as going to Thomond Park. Never appreciate how important the crowd are. Like, people will say it nowadays, but it's the public that get the players to a certain pitch emotionally. If that isn't there, you know what I mean, it's what adrenaline is, because it's a fascinating subject. When I use goal kick, I use kick from, in training you kick from 40 metres in front of the post, whatever, and in training some days it's a struggle. And then the game of the day, or the game day, 28,000 people, 80,000 people, the ball sails over by 20 metres, that's adrenaline. You can't reproduce that in training. So it's, I think the supporters are crucial. Obviously, Ireland's Six Nations, it was the first 40 minutes against Scotland, I think. Going to the Millennium Stadium, especially the way Wales were going underperforming, was a difficult game. But saying that again, if Robbie Henshaw probably positioned himself differently, Ireland could go into the lead 9 minutes to go. But ifs and buts, 80 minutes is a long time. It doesn't always come down to one action. People forget that, I think, and it's. I think it's finishing second is really good. Ireland are really consistent under Smith, I think. He's an extremely, he's a world-class coach, and I don't use that word for many people or players in that organisation, but he's world-class. I think he's operating at a different level in terms of how he coaches. So you look at what England have available in terms of resources and playing pool, and Ireland are consistently delivering, and this weekend hopefully you'll have 2 teams in semi-finals after Saturday night, so rugby is strong, yeah.
So, are you excited about the Lions tour this summer after the Six Nations and what the Six Nations offered there?
Yeah, I just thank God I'm not going to New Zealand. You just go there a lot of Junes and it gets dark at 4 o'clock, it rains, and you usually get the shit beaten out of you. It was really tough because it's the end of your season. You kind of have a crack off at the first test. We should have won maybe on 5 occasions down there. We didn't get over the line, and then games 2 and 3, it's just like, oh, get me on the plane home.
Is it a more enjoyable competition than our, series from a supporter's point of view, you think?
I have no idea how you behave. Why, in terms of going there for people?
And just even kind of buying into it and following the progress of it. It's, as you said, it's the end of the season for players, and it's a different playing experience.
To be fair, it only comes along once every 4 years.
Yeah.
I think for the Lions it's the pinnacle. It's still, because good players want to play with the best of players. So people ask, how do these countries unite? They unite within one meeting because they want to achieve something. If you don't cooperate or share your feelings or your goals with another teammate, you've no chance, because the reality is New Zealand are going to be tighter and have a bigger bond than the 4 nations have, but it's up to them to try and create, I suppose, that link as quickly as possible, so that after 60 minutes when the going gets tough, they're able to look each other in the eye and say, we've 2 options, we either fall away here or we dig in, and it depends how much that means to you. So
do you give them much of a chance this summer?
I do in terms of, because I think New Zealand have lost a lot of leaders.
Yeah.
There's no Dan Carter, there's no Richie McCaw, 2 guys who have, I suppose, been the rock of that team for over 10 years. But I think what they do is they just keep producing incredible young players. So from that point of view, the talent will be there. You look at the quality of the Super 15 at the minute though, but it's really, really poor. So, but New Zealand as a test team are still the benchmark, they're still better than everyone else, and when they get excited about something, they're a bloody hard team to beat, and there's players staying in New Zealand because they want to just play the Lions, so they've sacrificed everything. So you have the Maori team playing them as well, that's a massive pinnacle for them. So it's a bit like All Ireland Day in football or hurling here every day of the week over there when it comes to rugby.
Enjoy the summer, enjoy tomorrow, enjoy Thomond Park, and the best of luck to Munster. And Ronan O'Gara, everybody, thank you.